Morning program. The author, Peter Kiernan. Good morning, Mr. Kiernan.
Great to be with you. I'm glad you're back.
How are you? Thank you very much.
I'm doing great, thank you.
So, I talked to any number of people, and I can't remember from day to day who I've talked to and what they think. And so every time you're on, I have to ask you the same stuff. So
that's all right. It's always a pleasure to come back.
Well, that's very nice of you. So you're a Trump guy, right?
Oh, gosh. Limply getting across the finish line, but yes.
Once he last talked about what he's going to do.
Well, you are hitting on what I think, if I could coach him, if I could sit with him right now, if he spent the entirety of this debate coming up, bouncing off the bottom that we hit. The last one was unwatchable. It literally, it was like watching Vietnam in our living room. It was so demoralizing. I think the American people are aching for a real leader. And Donald Trump has this Wiener-esque compulsion to respond to every slight. And if he spent his whole time saying, these are the 5 things I am going to do as the leader of the free world, I'm going to do A and B and C, I think the American people would love that. They are sick and tired of the pugilism and the go low, sort of what I would say kind of carnival atmosphere. And if he just stepped away and said, I am going to lead and I'm going to do these 5 things, I think we'd see a dramatic uptick in his polls.
But some of his supporters say, well, he doesn't get asked the right questions, but he doesn't have to get asked the right question. He can talk about what he wants to talk about.
Yeah,
they do it all the time.
Don't you? I mean, where is
That's
it
a
written?
lame excuse, Bernie.
It's a...
Oh, yeah.
Go ahead, Mr. Kiernan.
No, that's all right. Where is it written? You have to answer the question that you're asked. I mean, basically, you can convert anything. But if we're going to get down into litigating whether this State Department email activity is the next Watergate, we are wasting the American people's time.
And nobody cares. It's because of the way the news media is. None of this, it doesn't make any difference what the State Department did with the FBI. It doesn't make any difference what she did with the email. None of it is going to resonate because it's not going to get reported fairly, and nobody cares.
What he has to do, honestly, is ignore the crowds. He has to ignore the audience. He has to ignore I remember vividly in 1984 going to on November 1. Going in New York to a campaign rally that Walter Mondale had. 100,000 people showed up. And he said, forget the polls. Listen to these people. How can I lose with this kind of support? 4 days later, he lost 49 states.
Well,
that what you have to do is the American people, the House of America has many rooms. And what you have to do is go out and lead. And he has been so frustratingly compelled to answer every little slight. Whether it's tweeting, people want a leader, not a tweeter. They want somebody who is going to get out and say, I'm going to do A and B and C. And by the way, if you look back to the early going, what got people excited about him in the beginning?
What we were talking about this morning,
was what he said he was going to do. Change.
Exactly.
Change doesn't mean beating up on Hillary Clinton for Bill Clinton's peccadillos. We know
whining about it being a rigged election. I mean, they're all rigged.
Well, I have a news
what's
flash
he
this
talking
morning.
About?
The media is slanted, or maybe they're just in a very bad mood. But the point is, he is literally, they are playing him like a fiddle. Yep. Every time he starts to get on something substantive, they put a little, he's like a young trout. They put a little lure in front of him, and he goes for that bait, and he's gut hooked on some stupid aside that has nothing to do with affecting the American people.
Talking with Peter Kiernan here in the Imus Morning program. It's 14 till the hour. Did I just interrupt you there?
No, I was just going to say, one of the things that frustrates me is...
Shut up, banana ball of skunk. Have some respect.
We're in the process of launching what could be a D-Day-like activity in Iraq right now. I think
I was
Mosul,
just going to ask you about what you thought about Mosul.
Well, Mosul, look at Mosul, and it fell in 5.5 days 2 years ago, in June 2014. 5.5 days. And 30,000 Iraqi soldiers were bested by 800 ISIS fighters. 800 against 30,000. And worst of all, ISIS got a windfall because the Iraqi soldiers ran away from the armaments, which parenthetically we gave to them. But I think Mosul we are on the cusp of something very big because there are somewhere between 1.2 million and 1.5 million people who live in that city. It's a huge, densely packed city, and those people have learned a couple things from Aleppo. One is, when it goes bad, do not hang around. So you could have 1 million people as refugees. Where are those 1 million people going to go? Are they going to go to Turkey? Erdogan's already got 3 million refugees. This, I think, is one of the most important seminal events in our country today, and no one is focused on it because all we care about is a tape that Billy Bush and Donald Trump made so long ago I can't remember the date.
I wonder how deeply involved we are in Mosul. I mean, I know they talk about the advisors, but...
Well, to be honest, in Fallujah, we really weren't very involved. Our Apache helicopters sat on the sidelines. And what's really ironic is that what's driving this newly invigorated Iraqi force is Shiite militia, which are basically fortified by Iran. So in a bizarre way, we're kind of side by side with Iran. We are helping with some bombing routes for the Peshmerga, and the Kurds are good fighters. We like the Kurds. They fight because they believe they're fighting for territory. They're fighting for a mission, and I think we're kind of kindred spirits there, and we're fighting on that side. If you think about this town is in northern Iraq, and the Peshmerga fighters supported by us are coming in from the east, and the Iraqi forces are coming in from the south. Now, we're 1 day in, and people are saying we're ahead of schedule. I think that's way overblown. This is going to be an inch at a time. Frankly, it fell in 5.5 days. I can't see that they get it back in 5.5 days. And the humanitarian piece of this is big. I know you're a big humanitarian guy. This is really the story. Where are those 1 million people going to go? What's going to happen to them?
Peter Kiernan here on the Outswing program. 11 minutes now till the hour.